Hello guys, Omni here. I wanted to talk about something and give my thoughts on something that came up. Actually, I think it was yesterday, but a lot of people are kind of really starting to catch on today about the news about the Batman casting. We're seeing a lot of the same things that we saw when Heath Ledger was first announced as the Joker way back when, before the Dark Knight film came out. You see a lot of the headlines right now kind of, I don't know if you call them misreporting, because Variety seems to be really standing by their initial article saying that Robert Pattinson is officially cast and confirmed to be Matt Reeves's Batman in The Batman, which comes out in I think 2021. And you see a lot of the same headlines floating around, just citing Twilight. Of course, Twilight, a 7-year-old franchise at this point, is still being brought up, and it's a huge thing. And you know, it's kind of funny because people did the exact same thing with Heath Ledger. You heard a lot of the same comments. It was like that pretty boy from Knight's Tale, that the pretty guy from Brokeback Mountain really is going to be the Joker, and he blew us all away. Now, I'm not saying that's always going to be the case. Look at Jared Leto. Jared Leto is a phenomenal actor, and he's got a lot of qualifications and great films under his belt. But his Joker didn't really land. Not for, I think, the vast majority. I know a lot of people that do like it. Personally, I wasn't really feeling it. I feel like we didn't get really enough of him in Suicide Squad to really give him a fair shake. I think what wasn't on the cutting room floor that we actually got in the film in the final cut wasn't the best representation of what they had to work with, because when you hear them talk about it, it seemed like they had a lot of good ideas going on that just kind of didn't make it into the more lighthearted version of the film that we ended up getting on the screen. We're seeing a lot of mixed reports saying just straight that he's confirmed, when officially nothing's been signed, at least from what I've seen. A decision may have been made, but nothing's been signed yet. Right now, the two figureheads battling that out for this role are Nicholas Hoult and Robert Pattinson. But Variety again has reported twice now that it's pretty much looking like they're trying to hammer things out with Robert Pattinson, and it seems like Nicholas Hoult is their number 2 guy in this. Now, both of them, great actors. Now, no matter how you feel about Twilight, I guarantee you that Robert Pattinson hates Twilight more than anybody watching this right now. He's openly vocal about not enjoying being involved in those films. I'm sure that came about at a very young point in his career, which it did. And, you know, you take the jobs you can get. And unfortunately, he got contracted into that mess for all of those films. And nobody wants to consider that he's done like over 10, almost 20 different types of films since then. And these aren't big budget, like in your face kind of productions. Most of them are indie films. And, I know Nicholas Hoult seems to be the forefront. I don't think when you think Batman or Bruce Wayne, either of these two people ever really come to mind. Matt Reeves has a track record that I think shows that he knows what he's doing, and he's got an idea and direction that he wants to go with this film. And if these are the two guys he's narrowed everything down to, then I trust that he knows what he's doing. I know they've been talking about for a long time now that they've been wanting to do a younger Batman. Now, that doesn't let us know if this is going to be like a prequel to Ben Affleck's Batman, or if this is a retconning of that Batman. From every initial report about this movie, before DC started segmenting their properties to try to, not be as interconnected, Matt Reeves has said that this is a standalone Batman film. It takes place in the DCEU, was what he had always said. But it isn't contingent on that connected universe. So you could argue that, from what we know, it is as connected to the current DCEU in its current state as Shazam is, in which they openly reference everything that we've seen before in multiple takes. Same with Aquaman. Aquaman referenced the fight with Steppenwolf in Justice League. They still acknowledge that the world exists. It's just not the focus. That's not what they're building. The interconnectivity like the MCU did is no longer the goal that they're trying to achieve. They just want to have independent standalone films that just may happen to be in the same universe. But that's not what they're about. They're about the individual character headlining the film. So that raises the question to me, again, is this going to be a younger Bruce Wayne? Are we acknowledging that Ben Affleck's Batman just no longer exists because they're retconning and rebooting Suicide Squad completely rather than Suicide Squad 2 being a sequel? They've confirmed that the next Suicide Squad movie is a reboot. That's what's making the DC universe even more hard to follow, to the point where if you watch my previous video, even though I think it's way too early to do something as epic and as huge of an event as Flashpoint, I feel like the way they're doing things, if they're wanting to have a continuity, that's like the only thing to do is hit that reset button on this universe. And I don't know, again, because we don't have a lot of information on this film. If they're going for a younger Batman, and this is maybe Batman in his early years, or I could see either one of them really being Batman, a young Batman. Of course, I feel like they would have to definitely bulk up both of them to really kind of fulfill that role, unless this is kind of like a Batman Begins. We see him leave Gotham to go and seek training. Other than that, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's definitely got to be some kind of physical training that's going to go involved for whoever gets the role. Between these two, hands down for me, it's between these two, again, not considering anybody else, because these are the two they are currently considering. From these choices, Robert Pattinson to me is the obvious choice. I think he looks like a grizzled he looks well enough to be a good Batman. He's got the jaw for the behind the suit. I think he can carry the Bruce Wayne persona very well. Nicholas Hoult, as a good actor as he is, he's never been in a role or really given me the air in which I feel like he could give me a performance that would allow me to suspend my disbelief of him being Bruce Wayne. I could see him as a number of other DC characters, but not really Batman. So for me, between these two, I really think Robert Pattinson is the most accurate choice to go with. I think he's got the acting chops, because if you ignore Twilight completely and even go before that, I've thought even when he was in Harry Potter, he did an amazing job in the little bit he had to work with as Cedric Diggory. But after Twilight, you got to consider he's done many things since Twilight. Like same thing with Ben Affleck. He's done and grown so much since Daredevil, but everybody wants to keep bringing up Daredevil and all of his other prior films. The clickbait of these titles is just feeding into that stigma that these people will be forever known for the worst role they were in. Paul Rudd, for example. Nobody now points out half of the garbage that Paul Rudd was in. Halloween 6 is one of the first ones that comes to my mind, and when I think of Paul Rudd, because he is laughably terrible in that movie. Paul Rudd's huge now. Nobody would even think to talk about that. It's just, that's not what gets the clicks, and that's what's circulating around. And I think, just like with Heath Ledger, we have to wait and see, because it's either going to be a Heath Ledger or it's going to be a Jared Leto. We won't know until we have the final product, but I think right now, just from having the announcement in our head, we just need to remember that we need to reserve our judgment until we see the final product, or at least a trailer or representation of the product. We don't have a trailer. We don't have any stills. We don't have any test footage or screen captures or set photos to go off of. So right now, purely going off the casting and instantly bashing it is, I think, completely ignorant. That's my personal opinion. And I think we should try to at least entertain the idea of this until we see something before our eyes that tells us either A, this looks good, they're doing a good job, pat pat, or something that looks awful, and then you feel free to just fire away at it, but in, you know, a non-violent or extremist manner, like you've had with some of other recent events and certain fandoms. Just remember, keep a level head. This is just the announcement. Whichever one they go with, I trust that Matt Reeves knows what he's doing, because every film he's written or directed, I feel like he's made solid choices. But we'll find out. Leave it at that. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you agree with me, if you don't, just let's carry on this conversation down there in the comments, and we'll go on from here, and we'll see what comes out here in the future. I'm sure we'll get a confirmation, like a solid confirmation, that Robert Pattinson or Nicholas Hoult has signed a contract here in the next couple of days. So maybe we'll pick back up and revisit this conversation at a later date. But for now, this is it, and this is my thoughts on the topic. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for listening to me rant about this, among other things, if you've been around the channel for a little while now. Thank you guys. And the growth, the slow and steady growth on this channel, and the conversation engagement we have down in the comments is really, really awesome. And I want to keep that up and keep growing it. And I really want to thank everybody that has been watching and following the channel, and everybody that is new and just starting to follow. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.